All right, so we're already on week 5 of predictions. Crazy week last weekend. I was trying to get this prediction video out sooner, but it's just life, guys. I always end up trying to get it done early, and then I always end up getting it done late. But better late than never. So we'll go ahead and move on to the games this week. So we talked enough about last week, obviously. So it's been talked about to death. Anyways, so let's go over 10 games I picked. First one is Michigan versus Iowa. A lot of people think this is going to be potentially a close game. It's prime time. This is a big noon kickoff on Fox, I believe. Everyone knows Michigan lost I think it was 2016, last time that they visited Iowa, and they lost. It was a big upset. Michigan was ranked, I think, number 2 in the nation, and Iowa took them down at home. It's very low scoring. But I think it's a little different this time. I just think that Michigan is just too talented, too good of a team, and I think they're clicking on all cylinders right now, and Iowa's not catching them at a good time. I think they caught them at a good time last time, and they upset them, and that's why they took them down. It was right. I think it was right before the Ohio State game, so Michigan was looking forward to that one, and that's probably why they lost. Michigan's not looking past Iowa this time. I think they're pretty focused. Michigan had a close game last weekend against Maryland, but I think Maryland is a much better team than what people think, and they're going to upset someone this year. It could have been Michigan, but Michigan pulled it out because they're a really good team, and that's just what good teams do. So I think Michigan wins this one, and I think it's a close game, but I think they pull it off. It could be a field goal if they win by, but because Iowa's defense is just that stingy. Iowa cannot score really. Their offense is absolutely putrid, so I think Michigan gets it done on the road. Next game is OU at TCU. Man, OU just can't beat K-State. That's 3-1. Chris Kleiman is against OU. That's pretty good. I mean, I've never seen another coach do that before. But yeah, OU just we're seeing the same problems we saw last time. But I mean, Brent Venables can't fix that defense by snapping his fingers. So they're going to go through some growing pains, and they're going to have to go through the recruiting process to try to get it improved for future. So I'm not a big believer in TCU. I think they're going to be one of the worst teams in the Big 12 when it's all said and done. I know they're 3-0, but you got to look at who they've played. They played terrible teams. So I think OU wins this game, and I think they probably win pretty decisively because TCU is not very good. They're not as good as their record shows, and they're about to get exposed, I think. And I think this is the weekend that they get beat pretty bad. So I've got OU winning this one. Next game is Texas Tech at Kansas State. Kansas State coming off that big victory in Norman over Oklahoma. Texas Tech is coming off a big victory over Texas, so both these teams are coming off of big emotional wins. Man, I didn't think Texas Tech was about to pull that off against Texas, especially with their quarterback out. But just shows you just how good of a coach that Texas Tech has. I mean, both of these teams have really good coaches so far, and both of them done a pretty good job of where they've been at. I think this is a good game. I think this is a sneaky good game in the Big 12. I think this is a close game, but I'm going to lean towards the home team at Kansas State. I think they get this done, but nothing to take away from Texas Tech. I think they're a decent team in the Big 12, but I think Kansas State gets this done. Next game is Kentucky at Ole Miss. I have gone back and forth on this game. I could not make up my mind between Kentucky and Ole Miss. I just think they're almost mirror images of each other in ways, and both of them have struggled against lower teams at some point this season. But Ole Miss is they have a lot of firepower people aren't paying attention to. Really, they have really good running backs. Kentucky is gone more of a balanced attack this year, and that's good for them. I think they're transitioning that offense pretty well. And Mark Stoops is a good coach. But I think because this is on the road, I think Ole Miss is going to win this game. I think they win maybe by a touchdown. I don't think they blow them out or anything like that. I think this is a really good game, and I think Ole Miss pulls it out in the end. I wanted to pick Kentucky at first, but something's telling me to pick Ole Miss, so I'm going to roll with the Rebels. All right, next game is Oregon State at Utah. This should be a pretty good game. Oregon State almost upset USC last weekend. They probably should have, but USC found a way to win. Oregon State's a pretty good team. Utah is pretty good as well. They're still rolling along, even though after that loss against Florida. This is a tough one to pick. I'm going to roll with Utah, though. I think they're just the better team, and I think Utah is going to win the Pac-12 still. And yeah, I think they got that one loss out of the way this year, and I think the Utes get this win on the road at home. Next game's Alabama at Arkansas. This should be a really good game. As an Alabama fan, I'm really concerned about this game because Alabama did not look good against Texas, but Nick Saban will get that team focused, and I think it's going to show in this game. And I think Alabama goes into Arkansas. I think they win by a couple of scores because Arkansas's defense is not good, but their offense is good. So Arkansas will get their points, but I think Alabama just takes advantage of that terrible passing defense, and they get the victory here in Fayetteville. Not to say this isn't going to be a good game. I think it will be, but I just think I'm rolling with the Tide in this one to get the win. Next game is Oklahoma State at Baylor. Rematch of the Big 12 championship game that OSU should have won. They just let it slip away from them with too many turnovers, but Baylor has looked very impressive after that loss to BYU. I think they've bounced back pretty well. OSU has not played anybody, and they had their bye week already. I just think that this is an advantage to Baylor being at home, and in fact, they've been battle tested, and OSU has not. And I'm a believer in Baylor. I think that Baylor is going to get this win here, and the Bears are going to roll along, and they're going to give Oklahoma State their first loss. Next game is Wake Forest at Florida State. This should be a good game. I think it's going to be a really close game, but I think Florida State takes advantage of Wake Forest's terrible defense, and I think Florida State's going to win at home. As you can see, I have a trend here, almost picking all the home teams, but I just think Florida State is just a better team. Wake Forest is going to get their points and yards, but Florida State's going to take advantage of that terrible defense, and I think they're going to win the game. That's just what I think. It's how I feel. Next game is Iowa State at Kansas. Iowa State coming off that loss to Baylor, which they fought pretty hard, and I was impressed, but they just couldn't match with Baylor in the end. And Kansas coming off of a good win. They're 4-0. I mean, wow, I'm impressed with what Kansas is doing, and I think this is a close game as well, and this is going to be a really good game as well. But I think Kansas pulls this one out and goes 5-0. I'm just a believer. I'm going to roll with the Jayhawks till they prove me wrong. I'm going to roll with them. Last game is NC State at Clemson. This is going to be a really good game. I mean, you have a lot of bad weather. I think is going to be affecting this game as well from the hurricane that just hit. Prayers to the family that just happened to, by the way. It's really devastating if you haven't seen anything that's been going on down there, guys. It's just been bad. Anyways, I think this is a really good game at home, and I really wanted to pick NC State. I think they can win, but the fact is at Clemson, and Clemson is really good at home, just has me leaning towards picking the Tigers, and that's the only reason I'm picking them. If this was at NC State, I would pick the Wolfpack to win, just like they won last year, but I'm going to roll with Clemson at home because they've won games like this. They've been battle-tested at home a lot, and they've won tough games like this many times before, and I think they get it done once again in a really interesting game. That's probably gonna have some bad weather. So that's my picks for the week, guys. I'm looking forward to these games. Honestly, this is a really good weekend with games. So let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe. Have a good night.